me judging my squats, and I'm trying to compare them to Brent Fikowski's squats. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that they are 100% better than Danny Spiegel's squats. Yo, yesterday I put up a video on my Instagram of myself squatting, and in the forefront you can see the dogs just kind of like playing with one another. Kygo, the pit bull, is just like, that's kind of what she does. Leo's a little bit older. He's 8, he's the husky, and she is 2, and she just likes to kind of fuck with him until he, runs away. Says, alright, I've had enough with your shit. In the background, you can see me doing a 20 rep back squat, and my comment section, like I expected, was kind of nuts. Like, no rep, no rep, no rep, nice black shorts, nice good morning, why are you low barring? Every single one of those questions, I kind of expected those things to happen. And it's like you guys think that I'm a freaking idiot. I'm gonna put something on the internet without expecting some sort of backlash about that. Are you out of your fucking minds? So here's the thing, is I put up a post not too long ago about my methods with squatting. I have had a lifelong struggle with the squat. I remember when I was in high school, we had these clubs, right? There was the 175 club, the 200, 225, 250, 275. There was this big old board. In order to make the 300-pound club, you had to be able to bench press 300. You had to back squat 300, and then you had to be able to clean, I believe, 1.5 times your body weight. And I remember I did the clean, I did the bench press, I weighed 140 pounds, and I bench pressed to 300, and I cleaned what would have ended up being 210, 205, 210, and I could not back squat 135. Pretty embarrassing, right? This dude benched 300, holy shit, that's so cool. Go to back squat 135, and it wasn't gonna happen.
Is that what you think? You think?
And it was right around there where I decided that I was going to stop being a gym bro. I was 18 years old, and while I was still going to continue bench pressing, I was going to figure out how to fucking squat. I've had a handful of training partners, and before my CrossFit life, I had a couple in particular where they were driven insane with my, I figured it out, I know how to squat. Me being 30 now, where I was 19, 20, 21 of those times, every time I figured out how to squat. Of course I didn't, and the thing that's wrong with a lot of this is that there is never an absolute answer to literally anything.
It doesn't matter what you think!
Anyone who tells you that they think that they know the answer to something, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So, you look at my squat, and you can see things in there where there are people chiming in, and they're like, what is that? That is a no rep. And you know what? When things like that are brought up, it depends on whom you're asking and what the intent is. As I've said in the past, I will never give anybody shit if they're not in a competition, right? The Open, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, the games. I just put a video together on the Rogue Invitational, and in the Rogue Invitational, when you're competing against other people, there is a standard that you have to maintain. I've also stated a little bit in the past that if you are somebody who is trying to be doing things in relation to an end goal, that being the semifinals, the games, you should be trying to do everything that you can to hold yourself to a standard. And when I was recording that, I didn't know what they looked like. I thought that I was going to depth, CrossFit style to depth, because in powerlifting, of course, those are below depth. And when you look at them, I'm just gonna put them up here. I'm gonna put up one after another, all 20 of them, and you can tell that it's not the same one over and over again because the dogs are in and out of the pictures in different ways. And I knew that would happen, so I'm like, I'll put all 20 pictures up, and the dogs will just be a convenient way for you to see that they're all different squats. They all look exactly the same, and that's because I have done this squat a shitload of times. I've also done a high bar squat a shitload of times. I'll put up a video of that too, myself high bar squatting. I don't know how many people are gonna end up watching this, but I would bet a good portion of you, maybe 3/4 of you, are going to not know the difference between a high bar and a low bar squat. I might be incorrect, and I thought Mark Ripito had a little bit into the CrossFit world at some point in time. Maybe that was Jim Wendler that I'm getting confused there, but Mark Ripito is the starting strength guy, and he's one of the people where if you were to ask him how to squat, he has a definite answer, which means that I think that he is wrong when he says that everybody should be doing it this exact way. The way that he says that everybody should be doing it is the way that you all saw me doing it on my Instagram. So it's like, what is that? What are you doing a low bar for? Well, if you ask Mark Ripito, it's the only way to do a squat. Like, why are your hips rising? Nice good morning. If you ask Mark Ripito, it's the only way that you should be doing a squat. Why are you looking down? If you ask Mark Ripito, it's the only way that you should be doing a squat. Now, I don't think that any of that is true. Of course, I love the CrossFit Level 1. I tell you every single time that I make a video in relation to college that the CrossFit Level 1 was way better. And I do think that for 99% of the people, 99% of the time, the way that the squat is brought up in the CrossFit Level 1 seminar, that is the best idea. And that's how most people should be doing a squat. That is with an upright torso, no immature squatting. And actually, there's a section in an article that I brought up through Mark Ripito that says, maybe it was taught to you by an expert CrossFit level 1 coach who thinks that your squat finally matures when you can lead with your chest with 185 pounds. You have maybe even read that powerlifters squat with a vertical back, but you don't take into account that they have triple ply suits and wraps under federations that don't judge depth. They're just kind of like bending their hips and their knees a little bit under these giant wraps that shoot them back up out of the bottom of their squat. And everything that I'm telling you comes from my years of coaching. You kind of look at somebody and then I try to throw the gambit of stuff that I've already brought up to you at them. So I couldn't squat 135 pounds when I was coming out of high school at 18 years old. High level wrestler in high school and I couldn't squat 135 pounds. I actually remember one of the first things that I thought that was going to help me back squat like 500 pounds would have been the fact that I would be elevating my toes. And for anyone who knows anything, you know that that is incorrect. You know that you want to actually elevate the heel. Gives you a little bit more ankle flexion, but if you elevate the toe, I thought it was going to keep weight in my heels better. Does that make sense? I was actually able to squat like that, and I did for maybe a month or two, and then I found out that I was actually doing it wrong, and I needed to get some weightlifting shoes. And I thought that weightlifting shoes were going to be the things that made me squat 500 pounds. And I thought maybe front squats would be the things that made me squat 500 pounds. And then I found out what a belt squat machine was. I'm like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm not doing enough lunging. Maybe if I lunge, a little bit of unilateral leg work is going to help me squat more when I come back to the compound exercise. Maybe I'm going to wear my belt higher. Maybe I'm going to wear my belt lower. Maybe I need to do some upper extra back work so that I can support the bar better. And then I found out what the low bar squat was. And never at any point in time over the course of what ended up being 2 or 3 years, 18 to 20 or 21, did I think that the squat felt comfortable. It always kind of kept me stagnant. And I spent 3 years trying to progress my squat, and I went from about 135 pounds as an 18-year-old in high school to about 365 pounds, and that was still pretty good. A 3-year process, those were huge gains, and I had never really squatted before that, so it's not like anything out of control. It's like, holy shit, well, I had never trained my legs before. I was a swimmer and then a wrestler. Then I found out what the low bar was. The low bar, essentially, you shelve the bar a little bit lower on your back, you bring your elbows up, and it kind of shows you the wings of your scapula, and you position the bar right there, and then you kind of edge it in between the scapula and the deltoids, and you've always heard bring the hips down and back. And I remember I had the bar in that position, I brought the hips down and back, and it was just like butter, and I was like, holy shit, this is the way that it's supposed to be. Brings me to body anthropometrics. I believe I'm saying that right, anthropometrics.
Anthropometrics.
Those are just basically limb lengths. I brought up in relation to the deadlift video. Everyone has things that they are better or worse at. And I brought up in that video that I am a very good deadlifter and that I'm a poor squatter. And while I competed in the sport of CrossFit, I did everything in my power to be able to keep myself more upright while squatting because it was what was required of me. It also allowed me to better show depth and completion of the rep at the top of the squat than would a low bar squat. And I knew that because of the comments in my comment sections that if I were to ever go to competition and try to pull out the low bar squat, if there were ever a back squat, which there never really was, you'd be playing with fire because there's a very good chance that you were going to get a judge that had never seen it, and there'd be people in the crowd giving that judge a hard time, like, what is that guy doing? That's not a squat. We've never seen that. That doesn't count.
It doesn't matter!
But in the meanwhile, you look at it and it goes, is the hip crease going below the knee? Are you coming to hip and knee extension at the top of the reps with the shoulder over the top of the hip and the knee? And it's actually always been a wonder to me that you don't at any of these CrossFit totals see the athletes implementing a low bar squat, because there are a handful of athletes that I look at and I go, you know what, you should probably be low bar squatting. It's the same thing that I would do as a coach at my affiliate. I would have probably 85-90% of the members all doing a conventional, what you learn in the level 1 of an upright torso squat. But then there were a handful of members that would go through what I went through as an 18, 19, 20-year-old. It's like it just never felt right until it did. And then you position that athlete into the low bar position like, wow, this feels great. Take a big breath into your stomach, yank your hips down and back, load up the hamstring, squeeze the butt at the top, and then the rest is history. And almost they never want to go back to the conventional high bar squat. So what I ended up doing as an athlete, as a CrossFit athlete who had been to their semifinals, who has been to the regionals, throughout the year, I would try to go through 2 or 3 different squat cycles where they were all high bar, and I would try to go through one cycle that was low bar. And if anything, I knew that the high bar squat would carry over much better into the front squat, and I knew that the low bar squat would carry over much better into my top end strength and into my posterior strength. And I knew if I ever had to, I would pull that thing out of the bag and say, okay, I'm going to throw out the low bar squat. And if I ever have to do something like a 20 rep back squat, because it feels so much smoother to me and I don't have to fight to get into that position quite as much, the low bar squat's coming out. If in a competition of the 20 repetitions, the judge were to say that one's not low enough, I could go a little bit lower, especially if I were wearing a belt. For those of you guys who don't understand and think it looks like a good morning, there's a piece in here brought up by Mark Ripito, which brings up the fact that that is just a quadricep contraction. And if you think that and you you know about how the muscles work, position that my body's in at that point, you can actually see it. I'm in that bottom position. The first thing that happens is it looks like the hips shoot up, and that's an immature squat, right? But when you're in a low bar position, it's actually just your quads putting yourself in a position where you can then use the glutes and then the quads again more efficiently to finish up the repetition. Why is my head in that position? The exact same reason that when you're deadlifting, you don't look up at the sky. My head is down because when you're low barring, you will have a further forward body tilt. The bar is lower on your back, right? So that when you're viewed from a side angle, you need to keep the bar over the center of your foot throughout the entire rep. So in order for you to do that, you have to have a further body lean. If your chest were taller, just like if you were front squatting, the further forward the bar comes, the taller your chest has to be. The lower the bar goes down your back, the more forward leaned you have to be. And I guess the big thing that I wanted to bring up is that nobody has the answers.
Is that what you think? You think?
I'm making this video right there, and I am still open to being wrong about all of it. And I know that because I was wrong over and over and over again as an 18, 19, 20-year-old. And I figured all that out right around then. And the big thing that I want to bring up in this, and maybe relay to everyone who's watching this video, is that
it doesn't matter what you think.
Maybe you're in that 10 to 15% of people that I have worked with where you may not feel very great while squatting. You're going to throw the bar a little bit down your back. You're going to pick up the back of your elbows a little bit, which kind of kicks in the deltoids posterior. Throw the bar in between those deltoids and on top of the shelf of the scap, and you're going to throw the hips back and go, holy shit, thank God I watched that Andrew Hiller video. But if you are a CrossFit athlete, understand that you don't want to do that for the rest of your life because it's going to make things like wall balls and thrusters very challenging. It's something that I've also gone through. I know that I am such a better low bar squatter. If I only low bar squatted, I probably would have squatted 600 pounds at this point. In the meanwhile, I can only front squat 385 pounds because I still have that 21-year-old in me that is still struggling with those positions. And it's always something that I'm working on because this entire thing is about getting better. So you look at the comment section and everyone's like, that's not low enough. And I'll take that one on the chin. Maybe they weren't low enough. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But it all comes down to the purpose of this stuff. So the purpose of that video was to trigger everybody into watching this video. So if they weren't low enough, cool. As I was doing them and as I'm looking at them right now, to me, it's up for a judge to make a judgment call. And I know that it's me in that video, and I'm pulling up my third squat right here, and it's a pretty shitty camera angle. And if you were to ask me, they look a lot like a Brent Fikowski squat while he's doing wall balls at Granite Games. And I said that those were okay in real time. So I'm trying to offload me judging my squats, and I'm trying to compare them to Brent Fikowski squats. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that they are 100% better than Danny Spiegel squats.
No. Mallory's in first. No. Ken is in second. No. Kelly's no. That's your top three. No.
What do you think? No rep. Do you understand the difference between a high bar and a low bar squat? Is it something that you've ever done before? Or are you somebody who just wants to have the answer to everything and rain down hate?
Let the rain fall down and wake my dreams.
Andrew Hiller out.